We're going for a walk to get mangoes and tomatoes. I asked my daughter what she wanted for breakfast. This is our first week, me as a single mom. We usually eat eggs and toast for breakfast. That's what I'm gonna eat. Yeah, sweetie. And she said, I want mangoes and tomatoes. So
I want tomatoes.
Come on, let's come down.
I want tomatoes.
Tomatoes, sí, tomates y mangoes. She said that she wants tomatoes and mangoes. I gave that to her the other night for the first time. Come on, down. And she loved it. She doesn't eat a ton of food. She's a very particular eater. I'm not showing her on purpose because I don't believe in putting your children on the internet. So you're probably never going to see her. We usually don't leave the house this early in the morning because I'm not a big morning person. Gracias. Honestly, breakfast is my favorite. First thing I always eat is something fermented. I've been on a, what is this? Sauerkraut kick. This amazing natural store I go to. They have all these homemade ones, and literally gut health is honestly so important for the spiritual journey because like the quality of your gut honestly determines the quality of your consciousness. Like the level of how much the gut is connected to this is just so wild. I just eat like a few tablespoons of sauerkraut before my first breakfast in the morning, and then honestly my gut thrives. First things first though, always a huge glass of water with some form of citrus. Like if you literally can't clear your bowels, drink lemon water with citrus. I'm telling you, it's the best, the best. Somebody on TikTok had said to me like, oh, you should share more about your life. But the thing is that I live a really slow, chill, calm, quiet, peaceful, easy life. And I actually had no idea that was my dream life. It's funny, like you don't know what you know. And I never ever thought that I would live in another country. And like, I'll have to share the story about even coming down here to Mexico, but I don't know. I don't know what to share with you because I live a very chill life. And the other day, literally, a woman asked me, she's like, well, what lights you up inside? What makes your soul so happy? And there was literally 3 things that came up, and it was nature, slow living, and my spiritual journey. Like I'm obsessed with all 3 of those, and all 3 of those are like the foundation of my life. I love my life. I love myself, and it's taken me a really long time. I'm 37 years old now, and I can say that. And I feel really good about that because I know who I am. I know what's important to me, and I live my life as my authentic self and not from this like wounded version of myself. And it's taken me years to get to this point, and I'm very happy. And my current reality is based around those 3 principles. I live in the jungle in the middle of Mexico in a small little beach town. I love living here. I love living slowly. I even said this morning, like we usually don't get up and leave the house. I freaking love that. And I love my spiritual journey. I'm obsessed with my spiritual journey because I love the process of getting to know myself more. And it makes me feel happy and excited inside to continue to learn about who I am as a person and how the process works and the patterns that are coming up and how I can alchemize those out of my system and how I can just keep becoming better and better and better in a more and more and more authentic version of myself. Like I love that. I'm obsessed with my own growth and expansion in the best way possible because I love getting to know myself and not feeling like a worthless piece of crap anymore. I know who I am. I love who I am. And the spiritual journey has allowed me to come back to like my soul. Like it's a remembering of who you have always been and giving yourself permission to actually be that epic, amazing version of yourself.
this one. I want this one.
Okay. Should we do it again? Otra vez?
I mean, 50. Maybe.
You did it. Dame cinco? Yeah.
Let me see. Take one.
Okay.
Then I want this one.
Not sure. What about this one?
Okay, yes.
Dos más?
Go fit.
Yeah.
Sorry. Sorry.
Uno más?
No.
You don't want to put the last one in? Woo!
A portal.
It's very divine how I ended up in this amazing little town that I live in. All of which, of course, was totally guided by the divine. So in 2019, first off, the beginning of my spiritual journey, I was bedridden with chronic illness and crippling anxiety, and I was broke and depressed and living at my mom's house. And I was 31 years old. And I honestly was like at my lowest of lows. And to be honest, my spiritual journey absolutely saved me. And I am so happy that I hit that massive rock bottom, because I was living so out of alignment with my authentic self. I didn't even know who my authentic self was. I had been living to please the world. I didn't even know how to be happy, because I thought that happiness was attached to outcomes. That like if I achieved my achievements determined my happiness. So I didn't even know how to be happy. I had no idea that I was silently suffering from so much pain and trauma from my childhood. Absolutely no idea. No idea that I had been living my life operating from massive states of fear, right? My anxiety and depression were results of all that, being in survival mode. Had no boundaries. Literally, there was an open door for everybody's nonsense to come into my life. I had no standard of living, of like, meet this standard to be welcome into my beautiful life. I literally just allowed everybody's nonsense into my life. I made everybody's problems my problem. I constantly was just self-sabotaging, overgiving, people-pleasing, putting myself last, self-sacrificing myself for everyone else's, believing that like their things were more important than myself. Constant coping mechanisms of procrastination, avoidance, and just operating from a massive state of overwhelm and worry and fear and anxiety, just controlling who I was as a person. Ultimately, I'll have to tell this story later, but I had a massive spiritual awakening after I did a 33-day fast. 30 days of the fast was just raw fruits and vegetables. I had never done anything like that before. I followed like a medical medium at the time. It was raw fruits and vegetables. He has a whole thing on that. And then the last 3 days I did a water fast. So I had this like massive 33-day portal that at the time I had no idea I entered into. And at the end of the 33 days, I literally was an entirely different person. And I had awakened deeper parts of my consciousness that like I had no idea. Like my intuition was so loud. It was screaming at me. It was wild. So anyways, I went on I started living like as a nomad. It was November 11th, 2019. And I got a massive download saying like, you have to leave Chicago. I was living in the suburbs of Chicago with my family. And they were like, you have to leave, like leave. And I literally, the next day I quit my job. I was working as a manager at a spa and I quit my job. It didn't make any sense. I left before Thanksgiving. I just like dipped out and I've like never gone back to Chicago ever since. And it's now like been 4-5 years later. But literally I started this nomadic journey in 2019, obviously before all COVID, everything hit. And then in 2020, I had already been traveling to all these different places And I was supposed to, in September of 2020, I was supposed to go to Peru. I had set up to go to Peru. I was gonna go on this 3-week ayahuasca journey. I like intuitively was guided. And my entire nomadic journey was intuitively guided by God. I call it my alchemist journey because I literally would allow source to come through me and guide me to where I was supposed to go. And I went to all of these amazing places traveling around, and it was just like so phenomenal. It was amazing. And then I was intuitively guided to go to Peru, but a week before I was supposed to go in September 2020, Peru closed their borders. They didn't allow people in. And I literally was like, oh, okay. Like, obviously, like, I'm not being rejected. I'm being redirected. So again, I put it in the divine's hands. I refer to our creator as God at this point in time. It's taken me some time to get to this place and get to a place of healing with it because I grew up Roman Catholic. So whenever I initially had my spiritual awakening, I just called it the universe. But now it's been made very, very clear to me that it is God. After lots of healing and expansion and raise of consciousness with plant medicine. But wherever you're at in your journey and what feels best for you, I respect everybody's relationship with our creator. So if it's universe, if it's source, if it's divine, if it's God, if it's Allah, whatever is best for you, fill it in with what word feels best for you. I usually say God, source, or the divine. It is just divine, I mean, right? So I put it in God's hands, and then literally a day later, it was like, go to Mexico. And I was like, okay, because I was in Texas at the time. I was in Austin, Texas. I was like, okay, I will. Where do I go? I wanted to go somewhere spiritual. And initially I was like, oh, maybe I'll go to Tulum. And then I had a friend at the time who was like, don't go to Tulum. It's overrated. I had never been there. And she's like, here's a list of places that are better. And the town that I am in was on that list. And it was like the first one that I researched. For some reason, I was like drawn to it. For some reason. Of course I was drawn to it, right? And I flew there a week later in September 2020. And I was supposed to just stay for 5 weeks. And after 2 weeks of being here, I literally was like, why would I leave here? This is what my soul has been craving. This is everything that I'd ever want. It's like slow living. It's like community-based living. There's only like 4,000 people who live in this town. Like amazing, really good, conscious people. It's living in one with nature. Half the people around town don't even wear shoes. Like we have the jungle, we have the ocean. I just was like, this is the best place I've ever been in my entire life. Like I don't want to leave here. And so then I extended my trip and stayed for 3 months. And then I decided I'm moving down here. So then in 2021, I went back into the States, got my car and drove it down here, which at the time was with who I thought was my soulmate. And we've now separated, and I'm here with my daughter, and he moved back into the States. And I'm not super ready to talk about all of that yet because it was a deeply heartbreaking experience for me. I have a family with this person. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna get emotional now. I thought that we were soulmates, and it is what it is. So I'm not gonna talk into that yet because I'm not ready to talk about it. We drove down here in 2021, and anyways, been living here ever since, and I've never been in a place that I've been more happy, that I feel like is more in alignment with who I am as a person, which is what I spoke about before. Living as one with nature, being so deeply connected, like so many healing tools that I've used on my spiritual journey, and meeting a lot of like indigenous people and people who are walking the walk on their spiritual journey too, and like just so many amazing spiritual people. I love it. And going to the Temescal and learning more about the Mayan and cultures and the, Native American, and I'm obsessed. I love it so much. I love living one with nature. I love living slowly. I love raising my daughter that way. I love everything about being here. I wouldn't change it. And I have no desire to live anywhere else. I've never been somewhere that felt like it was my home until I came here. I lived in New York City for 10 years, which is shocking to me. I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago. I never even got on an airplane until I was 18 years old because I didn't grow up in a wealthy family. I'm one of 6 kids, and I wore hand-me-downs till I was 11. I started working when I was 11 years old. never have stopped working. I'm now 37. But you know, you really don't know what you want until you get a taste of like something that kind of feeds your soul. And like I said, I grew up in a large family. I grew up in an extremely chaotic family. There was just nonstop screaming and people and just energy. And I am a highly sensitive empath. I'm a water sign. I'm Scorpio. And I had no idea how much my upbringing of like living in massive chaos and messy and loud and like just chaotic. Oh my God, my mom's screaming all the time. And I shared a bedroom with two of my sisters, and I never had any space to myself. It's like when the funny thing is I lived in New York City and I had an apartment where it was just me, but there was still chaos because I lived in a chaotic place. When I came down here, it was like, I actually could decompress and live a life of calmness. And I realized, like, after having lived something that was so out of alignment with my soul, moving to a place that had that easiness, that calmness, that peace, that freedom, and then my home space then also could replicate that as well, because I healed my nervous system and was no longer operating from anxiety and fear and overwhelm. That was a huge part of my spiritual journey, was getting my nervous system to feel safe to be me and not be operating from the program that I received from my family, which was of chaos and stress and overwhelm at all times, just rushing. I grew up in a family with so many kids. We were always just rushing everywhere. There was never like chillness. Like even if it was going to do something fun in a family, as a family, it was rushing. Like that's all that I knew. And that's how it works. When your external reality is that way of being, that trains your internal reality to believe that that's the way life is supposed to be. And so that is what my body and soul had known my entire life, was chaos and overwhelm and rushing and pushing and forcing and doing. That's not how we're supposed to be living. That's not living. Doing is not living. Being is living. And my spiritual journey brought me back to the place of being, learning that being who I am is enough. That's it. Like being true, authentic Kirby, in alignment with my higher self, in alignment with Source, the divine creator. That's it. And the more I focus on being me, the more magnetic I am. The more me I am, the more magnetic I am. That's really how this all works. It's not about trying to get something else, trying to manifest or change your whole external reality to then feel good enough. It's unbecoming everything that you've been before so that you actually remember who you've always been in here, and you feel safe enough and have the trust and the faith and the confidence and the knowing and the belief to actually be her. It's breaking free from all of the patterns and the programs that has trained you to believe that you're separate and that operating from fear and pain and suffering is the normal way, because that's what our whole 3D reality is operating from that, and remembering that the entirety of our way of being is to operate from love. And that all of that other stuff, the fear, the pain, the suffering, is literally living in hypnosis. It's not real. It's a program that has trained us into this reality to make us believe that we are separate. And the whole point of the journey is to return to love. And that we are all part of this one love consciousness. And unbecoming all of the things. Like that was my program. Everything I just shared with you. What is your program? Right? And for me, living so connected to my authentic self allows me to be a deeper vessel for love. And that's what we are all meant to do. We are all supposed to give ourselves the permission to be who we truly are so that we can live our highest expression as vessels of love. Because we don't actually, like, the human being is a radio transmitter. We don't actually create anything, we just transmit it through our system. And the more clear our vessel is, the easier it is to transmit it through your system. And it's coming back home to yourself. It's an unbecoming of everything that you thought you had to be in order to be enough, in order to be loved, for you to actually be loved. And not from anyone else, for you to love yourself, for you to feel good just being yourself. And I've never felt happier living one in alignment with the divine. I've never felt better than knowing, like, I win every time. There's no losing. I win because God wins, right? When you start, it's a completely new way of living when you actually just like surrender all of the program and all of the pain and like let source take over. Like, there's been a saying, and I knew this even when I was younger, like, let go, let God, but like legitimately let the divine take over and rework your entire life, and be willing to surrender every thought, every emotion, every program, every belief, every pattern that is not operating from love. And it takes practice. And that's how we reprogram the subconscious, is literally through repetition and practice. And you just get better. This is why I told you I'm obsessed with the journey. You just get better and better and better at it. And it's freaking amazing. It's just like, it's so freaking amazing. Like, a yellow butterfly just flew by. Oh, source is always giving me magical signs. I love it. I love my life. I really love my life. I love who I am. I love this journey, and I love helping people come home to themselves. And it's literally my mission in life to help people get back to who they are, which is ultimately get back to love and living like the best version of who they are from such a level of peace and joy and freedom and happiness. I believe we all deserve that. I honestly do. I'm having a free event if you want to join in. It's called the Power Hour. It's coming up this upcoming weekend. If you want to join in, I'll put a link in the description. You can join us there. You can look at all the details. I'm really excited about it. If you're on the spiritual journey and you'd like to connect, join us there. It will be absolutely amazing. I'm sending you all my love. I hope you have an absolutely beautiful day. I'll see you in the next one.